That seems like
When
a
you
good
wish
thing.
upon a star.
Hey, a song so good they made it the Disney fanfare.
Yeah. Pinocchio. It's a pretty
Pinocchio.
you know, I it's a pretty slight movie compared to Fantasia, you know.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely did not like it as much as Fantasia. I had seen this one before. Kind of oppositely to Fantasia, a movie that probably would have baffled me as a kid. I feel like I kind of took Pinocchio kind of at face value as a kid, and watching it now, I'm like, what is happening in this movie? No, I wasn't confused, but I was like, yeah, just kind of baffled by a lot of things in Pinocchio
I mean, I'm not
that I didn't expect.
I mean, I don't know if this is what you're getting at, but this movie is kind of like I mean, it was based on something that was serialized, and so therefore it is a bunch of stuff happening.
Right.
Like this
I mean, structurally, right. It's very kind of episodic. It's like each one is kind of somewhat built around like Pinocchio learning a lesson, even though the lesson mostly in this movie seems to just be kind of like don't trust strangers.
right. I think that there's a lot, there's a lot of the viciousness, but also the kind of didactic morality of the original Pinocchio story that is taken out of this, where it is sort of just like he's a boy who lies sometimes, and
Yeah.
he needs to learn to stay on task.
I mean, I think there's plenty to enjoy about this movie, and I think that the broad kind of like moral messaging of it is very much just like, you know, be, don't be naive, I guess, is
Yeah.
is kind of the main lesson that Pinocchio don't lie and don't be naive.
If you're a child, the world will crush you.
Yeah. But I do think there's something about like the original Pinocchio story and the way that it is so much built around like lessons and like moral things like that. That I think when it is kind of like softened and streamlined in the way that it is in this movie, a lot of that's kind of lost, and it's so and I'm not saying it like loses its edge. It needs to be edgier or whatever, but it's like it feels like it loses some of its actual like what is the point of Pinocchio if Pinocchio is kind of a hapless victim in
Right.
all of this and
Yeah.
not a like troublesome child who is like making a mess and like ruining things for other people.
I mean, or just like an uncontrollable, like can't
Agent of chaos.
yeah, like can't stop himself from being an asshole to everyone around him,
Yeah,
which is really
which
like what the original story is. It's like Pinocchio's awful and he needs to learn to not be awful.
right, and I feel like by making Pinocchio really innocent like he is in this movie, it kind of then just becomes about like a puppet who becomes half alive and is then kind of like shuffled around by various people trying to take advantage of him, and then he gets spit out of a whale and he becomes a real boy. Like it feels like thematically it's not quite as potent, I guess.
It's not I mean, in line with being a bunch of stuff happening, it's not thematically focused.
Mm.
It's that being said, there's a lot of stuff in it that's vibes. It's cool. It's good. And
Yeah,
the animation is such a step up from Snow White. It
yeah.
like the character animation is great in this movie.
Like from a technical perspective, I definitely think it is. I think I overall I think I like the kind of aesthetic of Snow White more than this movie, I guess.
Hard disagree. Uh,
Okay.
I'm allergic to rotoscoping in most contexts.
One rotoscope character in this.
Yes.
Weird that it kind of works in this movie because the blue fairy is rotoscoped and no one else is.
Yeah.
And that it does kind of set her apart. It gives her this kind of very like ethereal, weird thing where it's like, oh, like she is from like a different like plane of existence than the rest
Yeah.
of the
She's from a
characters.
Ralph Bakshi movie.
She's from Lord of the Rings. Galadriel shows up.
It's Galadriel.
Another thing I did not remember about this movie from watching it as a child is that the entire reason that Jiminy Cricket is appointed to be Pinocchio's conscience is because he is like head over heels like horny for the blue fairy, which is just I don't know a weird choice. I thought
Honestly, everything in this movie is weird choices.
it's yeah. So there was I just think a lot of stuff like that where I was like I don't remember this part. This is strange.
Jiminy also, he's supposed to be the moral center of the movie, but he's kind of like the Statler and Waldorf of the movie. He is just kind of sitting on the sidelines, like ribbing everything that's happening and saying like this sucks.
Right, mostly just complaining a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a fairy tale, so applying logic to it is like a fool's errand. There
Hmm.
are a lot of like very big logical leaps, and just like there are several points of either fairy ex machina or letter from the sky ex machina that happen in this movie where the narrative will just sort of take a jump. It's like, oh no, he's stuck in a cage. He's been kidnapped by this kind of also kind of broad racial stereotype.
Yeah.
This movie didn't have a disclaimer, but and then it's like, oh, the fairy shows up. And it's like, oh, last time I'm gonna help you out of a jam, and then, but then I assume that's where the letter came from later.
Hmm.
I had like screenwriter gripes with this movie, but I mean, overall, it is like it's for kids. It's a fairy tale. I get it.
Yeah.
The animation is just incredible. Even if I'm sort of like Fantasia and Snow White are better, but
I think that like because this movie has a lot of kind of creative visual energy, I found myself pretty bored by Snow White. And Fantasia's kind of in a world of its own. So this movie, like, it feels like the craft being honed, you know? I think when we were talking about
hmm.
Snow White, I was saying like this is a different look from a Disney movie. It is a sort of prototype look for them. And Pinocchio, I think, kind of solidifies the Disney house style, especially when it comes to how to draw people.
Yeah.
One kind of thing that I thought was interesting about the animation in this too is that like if you're to compare it to, so this is like an early cell animated feature, right? Where and comparing this movie about a toy boy to an early 3D animated feature, Toy Story, which is about an
Mm.
animated toy boy, and
Toy
where
boy.
Toy Story, their toys, specifically because they couldn't get the 3D like animation of the squash and stretch and like the kind of subsurface scattering of skin to look
Right.
good on humans. And
Everyone was
so
kind of plastic, so therefore, let's make every character literally plastic.
exactly. So it was a way of compensating for limitations in the animation. Where this movie, the way that Pinocchio moves is so distinct. It's a way of flexing animation skill because
Hmm.
he's moving in this very like in a way, I don't know if it's necessarily hard to animate, but it's hard to get to look good, I would assume, as like character animation, right? Because
Hmm.
he moves
Mhm.
in this herky jerky sort of like I only have like joints at this one spot kind of way.
Mhm.
So an interesting kind of parallel, I guess.
The character animation is really, really impressive in this movie for sure. Um, that was a thing I noticed, and like the movie is like showing it off too.
Yeah.
Because also like there's not like long stretches, but there's like a lot of stuff with the cat and the fish that don't really have a lot of agency. They don't really, necessarily even have a lot of personality. I feel like the cat does.
The classic
Um,
useless Disney animal sidekick.
two of them. But the character animation on both of them is great, and it
Yeah, especially the cat. He's like very
right,
expressive.
but also like very cat like
Yeah.
a lot of like just cat behavior that is like so obviously a cat.
Yeah.
I feel like fish aren't very expressive animals anyway, so like the you know the lady fish that is like making eyes at everybody, which also is like I don't know. There's something I find kind of just like oh yeah, the lady fish is like this kind of like I don't know seductive character almost. It's just like I don't know what's going on there, Disney. Like,
Yeah.
is this what femininity is to you?
Stick some eyeballs and makeup on it, and that's what a girl is.
Right. It's this sort of thing where it's like to make a character appear feminine, they're just like put big eyelashes and like big lips on them.
Yeah, I would say that the fish, the fish in Fantasia are a lot more specifically sexual than the fish in Pinocchio, but they're both more than you would expect.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of, like, references to butts in Pinocchio, either for humor or just sort of, like, it's just there.
Mhm.
I don't know if that is, like, an intentional thing, if that was just the humor of 1940, which it
But
kind of was.
butts are funny. I feel like Chaplin,
I mean, they
like, he
are.
has a lot of fun,
So
like,
many. Yeah,
yeah, a lot of butt-based comedy.
for sure. Pinocchio does also. People know the plot of Pinocchio, right? There's Geppetto is an old man. He makes a little puppet. Puppet. He wants the puppet to go to school, and he doesn't go to school. He goes to the Donkey Island, and then a whale eats them, and they escape.
Yep.
That's the plot of Pinocchio.
I mean, we could touch on, like, some of the abject horrors in this movie.
The island of kidnapped children that are then turned into donkeys to be sold to the mines, I feel like warrants discussion.
They something that kind of shocked me watching this, because I think I watched this when I was a kid, but I didn't really have any memory of it, as with many Disney movies that aren't from the 90s. But like this, they do not address all of the other suffering, crying children who are
Yes,
turned into slave
they
donkeys.
they are never seen or heard from again.
You'd think that, like, Pinocchio would bust this scheme wide open, but he's just like, "Ah, I'm out of
No,
here, whatever.
yeah, I'm back
not
home. I'm good.
not my problem."
But yeah, that I also right again fairy tale. Don't think about it logically. Are donkeys that valuable that they need to set up this whole elaborate? They have like a whole steamship to take kidnapped children to an island
They
full
they're
of like with a full amusement park on it.
they are child trafficking to Pleasure Island, which is not good. It's not
Not
it
good luck.
doesn't doesn't yeah.
No. And I also wonder about that is like how much are they aware of the like implications of all of that?
I hope they're not. I mean, like,
Otherwise, this movie is way darker.
post Epstein, this has a more unsavory look to it. It
All
was
I could think of
always
while watching
it
it.
was
Yeah.
already unsavory. At Yeah, I don't know. It is what it is, I guess.
But right, but then it's like they're being turned into donkeys to be used as like labor in the mines somewhere.
Mhm.
It one of the crates just says salt mines on it. I haven't gone back and looked because that is part of the fairy tale, right? That is not a Disney invention.
I have to assume so.
But it seems like a lot of work to get some donkeys. You know what I mean? Like you'd
Yeah.
think you could just go to like a farm and get some donkeys that way. But the
My assumption is that they want donkeys who suffer. They want donkeys who suffer
oh, okay.
on a human level.
Right, that's part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. 2 things that stuck out to me about this whole sort of chapter. The ways in which they're portraying, like, childhood, like, mischief or sort of, like, what's the most indulgent thing for, like, a child to do? Like, what does every child want? You know, what is, like, the most sort of, like, if you could do anything, if you had, like, free reign, like, no rules, right? They say what? No school, no cops. What everyone dreams of.
Hey, I agree.
And I think it's very funny that they go to Pleasure Island and it's like bars and like like pool halls and stuff. Like I guess
Cigars.
all the kids are like, I want to go drink beer and have a cigar. Like I want to go to what is it? It's like the Rough House. You go in there and you poke somebody in the ear, and it's like,
I mean, children
uh,
do love roughhousing. I don't know about,
no,
like,
true. I
smoking
think
cigars.
I think the rough housing thing and like the right the big fancy house you can like break everything makes total sense. But I
I
think it's
want
very
that.
funny that the sort of like fantasy that they're presenting to these kidnapped children is to be like a guy who hangs out at like a duff bar.
I mean, like, there is an aspect of childhood that is, like, attempting childhood play that is attempting to emulate adultness, right? Like,
Sure,
you're
absolutely.
like, you see people hang out in pool halls, and maybe your fantasy is to be cool like them, and uh
I do think it is a very accurate depiction of what happens if you inhale a cigar, which is that you turn bright green, and you fall
just
over.
slump over. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, accurate. That is about how it feels. Love the whale stuff. Monstro, big fan of Monstro over here.
pro monstro.
I mean, Monster is a sea monster, so what's not to like. Also, hang I completely missed my note where on Pleasure Island there are this sort of like goblin minions
Hmm.
that will like close the doors behind them and are like loading the donkeys onto the crates. Also, the transforming into donkey stuff was I remember that happened, but then as it was happening, I'm like, this is very upsetting.
It's body horror, basically.
Right, because there's the other kid with that is going to hanging out with Pinocchio that you like see a full like werewolf transformation
Yeah.
of him like slowly and horrifically turning into a donkey.
Okay, so I forgot that I should make a note of this. Is that my partner has a story about going to see a re-release of Pinocchio in theaters when she was a kid. She was like 4 years old, and
Mm. G-rated movie.
yeah, she was sitting next to her dad, and the scene where the donkey transformation was happening scared her so much that she ripped out like hair from her dad's arm, like just tore out tons of hair from his arm from fear.
I mean, not surprising. It's pretty upsetting to watch. Even now, I was like, "Oof, damn!" And then while it was happening, it like triggered I think childhood memories of like, "Oh no, this did freak me out as a kid." Also, and then right there's the bit where like some of the donkeys can still talk, and they like keep them in, like a separate pen.
I didn't notice that.
That actually I think might be the most upsetting part of the whole transforming kids into donkeys thing because there's the one donkey who is like crying and like calling out. It's like,
I
"I just want to go
know.
home." And
Oh god.
it is that to me, I was like, this does not belong in a children's film. This is too upsetting. Like that got me. And I remember that upsetting me as a like a young kid too, being like, no, like someone help. Also, right, like you said, they never go back to the donkeys. That
Yeah.
is never addressed again. Presumably they're all just working in the mine somewhere.
Well, they were bad kids, so they get what they deserve.
Right. They all smoked cigars, so they went to the rough house.
Roughhousing is classic. It's you don't get Christmas presents that year if you smoked a cigar.
Right, yeah.
Not that year.
But yeah, the monstrous stuff I think is cool and fun. All the like sort of like going through the bottom of the ocean with the fish and the coral and stuff. I enjoy that. I
Yeah.
enjoy ocean stuff.
I think that like they were sort of showing off water reflection effects that they could do in Snow White, and in here they've got these like effects of like underwater and heat like shifting of
Mm.
the air, and they're kind of like being showy with this effect that they
There
figured
was
out how to
there is
do.
something to how like blatantly showy the animation in these early Disney movies are, where it's like things will happen that exist for no other reason than just to be like, "Hey, check it out, pretty cool, huh?"
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think that like I remember with the band concert and all of the like rotation in it. I was like, this
Yeah,
is just flexing. Like they're just
yeah,
going like, how can we do something really difficult just to show that we
hmm
can do it? Which is
yeah,
cool.
yeah. And I think is like it is impressive. I'm like, yeah, that looks like it was hard to
Yeah.
do to animate. And then so they get eaten by Monstro. They're in the belly, and then they decide to hotbox Monstro's stomach by lighting a fire. Um, to get does smoke make you sneeze? I thought it just makes you suffocate, but so Monstro sneezes and they escape that way, and then that leads to the I guess now somewhat famous image of Pinocchio lying face down in the puddle. That's kind of become a meme.
Oh, I'm not sure I've seen that one.
I've definitely seen that uh, about the internet.
Ah, yeah, okay. That's a relatable image, certainly.
Sure, yeah, kind of reminded me of ET a little bit, where it is like this moment of like, oh no, like the main character is dead. That's where this movie is, and it very briefly, it very quickly walks that back. But again, a sort of thing where it's like surprisingly upsetting for a G-rated movie. I guess G didn't exist in 1940, but
Yeah, kids were more hard edged back then.
yeah, they
They
smoked
they
cigars.
lived through the depression. They knew they
Yeah,
were world weary.
they were little rascals. They had gangs.
Not our gang. They were little rascals.
And then he becomes a real boy at the end. I felt very bad for the cat and the fish throughout this movie, who really seem to just have a bad time. Like they do definitely warm up to Pinocchio by the end, but for most of the runtime, it is a net negative the fact that Pinocchio is around.
Hey, it's like it's the classic experience of being a kid in existing paradigm, and then a new baby brother or sister arrives and wrecks everything
Right.
up.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, Pinocchio, weird movie. Makes sense why it's had the influence that it has, and yeah, Wish Upon a Star, great song.
It's a good song.
Yeah,
It's
the rest of the songs not as much. There are a few other songs in this movie. None of them really have the sticking power that that one
I
does.
literally don't remember them.
Exactly.